And that's it. That's our crappy beginning, which still needs to be fixed. Welcome to Faz Politics. As you can tell, we're still on the experimental side.
Well, thank you for the invite to be on. Looking forward to tonight's discussion. I think it'll be pretty good.
Yes, Mr. Titan has a discriminating topic requirements, and hopefully we will be able to deliver tonight.
Well, I wouldn't call it that. I am, as you've heard on the regular Faz radio show, I have some very, very niche views on a lot of different things, and you and I have been oil and water on those. I gave up politics a long time ago, and I have very strong opinions on a lot of issues, I guess you say, that revolve more around society rather than government. And these issues come up. I don't want to see the show degrade into people getting bothered by opinions. And so that's why I've kind of stayed out of this this side of the show.
All right. Today, our topics are, by the way, today I have a new camera. Let me know if I look any better. I have been informed that I need a better background. So that is in process. We're still working on that. This room was actually going to be turned around, and I was going to have a window behind me. So we actually have a pull down on the other side. It's just not installed here. So at the moment, this is just my sound blanket there for this opening that I have. I don't have a door, but I want to have a pull down whatchamhoogie. And well, let's see. I'm curious, how does this virtual background look? I think let's see. Nah, what do you think?
I don't like how much it takes out. Can you adjust it down a little bit?
Background?
You look all fuzzy around your earphones.
Yeah, I don't like that either. So that's a problem.
That's better.
So I'm working on that. This is the old Faz Guild logo.
Nice.
Okay. Anyway, we will worry about that soon. You'll be able to see an evolution after a while, and that'll be the case on all Faz casts. You know what I haven't done, and this is my fault. So I haven't done an announcement on Discord. So I'm going to do this really quick while we talk about our first subject. Today we're talking about TikTok in Greenland and the fires in LA. And I think that myself and you might have some differing and entertaining opinions on each of those.
Well, while you're posting that announcement, I'll tell a quick story about TikTok. So I had even more problems with Windows on Friday's show. And my headphones, my Bluetooth was all messed up. I was having trouble with cameras. I was having all kinds of technical glitches. It was to the point where Windows was even degraded, meaning I would type in the search box and it would type it, but I couldn't see it. The words, nothing. So everything, it kept updating, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Zorro had mentioned that he was having the same thing happen to him on his side and couldn't figure it out. Well, I went through today because Faz asked me to join him tonight. And I went through, I said, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take everything off of this computer except what's absolutely necessary to run Windows and what we do here with. And I took all that stuff off and I rebooted and I still had the same problem. And my audio was all goofed up and everything. So I went through again and I realized for my wife's show, we have the TikTok studio installed on this computer. And I said, you know what? We would probably just be better served using the laptop or just her phone to do the lives that she does. So I took the TikTok platform off. And it took forever to get this program off. I mean, it was sitting there uninstalling for probably 20, 25 minutes. I had to restart it 3 times because it glitched. Once it came back up, everything works just fine now. And it's funny because whenever we would run that, it would hijack everything on the computer, that the TikTok studio. It would hijack the camera, the microphone. You couldn't release them. And I'm wondering if that wasn't the problem all along, all these technical glitches I've had trying to get connected and audio problems and everything else. So as we go into the TikTok discussion, I can say with pretty good certainty that that studio was doing probably a lot more than just being a studio to Windows.
Well, TikTok is a little bit of a troubling subject right now. I heard that I'm sure that you've heard that the Supreme Court has just ruled that a planned ban on TikTok is well, they haven't ruled, or rather, they haven't ruled against it. They're ruling for a ban on TikTok. Oh, real quick, guess who's joined? Zorro. What's up, Zorro?
Hey!
There he is.
This is fast politics. Yeah.
Fast politics. Hold on. That's there we go.
Yeah, that one. All right,
That one.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt you.
This is my fault. I did not tell you in advance. I did not give you the link in advance. So it's okay.
Fine. That's fine.
But what I was getting at with TikTok is the Supreme Court is going to allow a ban to go through on TikTok in the United States. And if that happens, there's going to be a lot of people in the United States that are kind of boned, and it sounds like including Mr. Titan.
I don't think so. I really don't. And I read an article preparing for tonight's talk, and it's from Reuters, which I think you would agree is a fairly reliable source. And in it, it said that on the 19th is when this ban is supposed to go into effect. Of course, one day before Trump gets inaugurated. And it said in the article that Trump opposes a ban to TikTok. And I thought that was odd because he was one of the people, I think, that was up screaming that something had to be done.
Well, my 2 cents is, and to keep things all kind of equal with politics, no matter what side you're with in the United States, I think you've got to agree that some people doth protest too much. So, for example, Trump was against crypto until Biden became president, and then Biden was against crypto, and then Trump was for crypto. And I think it goes both ways. I think both sides have problems with the other side. They want to be different. They want to show they're different. I think you could solve the problem either way, personally. But I think he had a problem with it, but now he's fine with it, right? Which worries me, because the reason for the ban is a national security concern. Is China getting in and doing a lot of what do you call that, brainwashing of the American people? It's like the American people are fine with other countries being brainwashed, but they don't believe it when it's happening to them. They don't think that there's a lot of bots there pumping up certain accounts or echoing certain things.
What was the real reason that the government is giving to people that they're going to ban TikTok here in US?
National security. China is has made a number of inroads. They're doing this what do you call it? Social. I'll call it social warfare. It's right. What we do to other countries to kind of destabilize them. China and Russia have gotten on TikTok, and they can amplify certain things. So if there's somebody that's critical of the United States government, they can get to where there's hundreds of thousands of people clapping back and agreeing with that kind of thing. And it makes something critical of the United States government look like it's more valid, and I'm just talking about anything, not any specific issue, then it becomes hard to find out what the real issues are. And that destabilizes governments when your own people don't trust the government anymore. They are all about, they're all about the people not trusting the United States government, because generally when you don't trust your government, that's when wars start. And I hope we can get through this, but I can see it. I can see why the ban needs to be done. And I think Trump was for the ban until he was against it. And now he's against it because, well, I think the MAGA people don't think that it's a problem.
I have a lot that I could say on this, but what I will say is that I think you're very, very right about the way that TikTok is projecting different things. And I think that bothers the US government that they can't control that, because when people realize that the world is not exactly as the government tells people that it is, that presents a problem also. They want you to fear leaving the United States. They want you to not understand that other countries can be wonderful places to be, because then you'll leave. And on the backside of that, I don't think it's national security at all. I think it's more along the lines that there's a very, very closed algorithm that's the best one in the world. And right now, it's scary how accurate TikTok's algorithm is to feeding you exactly what you want to see. And it's so honed, and they have no access to that data. And right now, it's about 16% of TikTok's user base is United States. The problem is that over the course of all of these Chinese companies, you have Temu, which you see ads for all over the place. You have AliExpress that you see all over the place. Hundreds of millions of transactions, hundreds of millions of data sets are being pushed out to China for people using those. But you don't see the government going after Temu or AliExpress. You only see them going after TikTok, because people have a voice with TikTok. They don't when they're just buying products.
Well, okay. Let me use an analogy here. So if you lose trust in your government, think of this as losing trust in your parents. Now, it's one thing to know that dad drinks and mom doesn't like dad. It's another thing to hear that, dad is a criminal, and he goes to, and mom goes to sex clubs, and dad likes to eat, chop up little kids and eats them, and so on and so on. After a while, there's so much chaff, you can't tell what's real and what's not. And that it seems to be, times are changing, because Facebook just yesterday or the day before just said, okay, we're not going to try to moderate anything. We're not going to try to censor any speech whatsoever. So you can say Mark Zuckerberg is, epithet, and he approves of sex trafficking and all this stuff. And here's my 55 reasons why. And that flies now on Facebook. That's a big difference. American companies were always trying to establish some set of standard for facts, for things being reported on them. And now things are changing to where anything goes. And I think it's just a new world. TikTok has a lot of fake stuff on it. I can't tell you the number of things that I've seen on there. I mean, they'll be like, Los Angeles, I remember a number of months ago, Los Angeles is on fire due to a plane crash. I go and look up online. No, there's no plane crash. But somebody has video of a plane crash in Los Angeles. So now you have all these random events that people can just create out of thin air with AI, act like they're true, get people to respond to them It's nothing to do with reality. What are we going to do here?
Censoring it isn't the problem. And the only reason that Zuckerberg is doing that to Facebook is because Facebook is failing miserably. People are disappearing from Facebook and moving over to Twitter and other
The places that don't censor.
platforms. No, the platforms that are finding success with that model. He's being forced into it because his ad revenue is going down. People don't want to be on a platform where they're feeling like whatever they put out is being censored. They just don't want that anymore. People are waking up all over the country right now, and they're coming out of this mess that the last 5 years has produced. And they're starting to realize that these companies are not in it for the right reasons. And people don't want that anymore. They've had enough.
Well, okay, so here's some good news right here. This General Kazin has it on good authority. This Titan is not real. This is a fake Titan. What do you say about that? I mean, how can we verify whether that's true or not?
You can't. That's the beauty of it.
There's
no way to authenticate that it's really me. I could just be an AI algorithm on the screen right here, right now.
I'm sure one will be created eventually. Okay, so we used to think whenever we'd see something broadcast that it was true, and now anything goes. You know, I'm not personally used to an idea of a post-truth kind of situation where nothing is trustable anymore. I mean, how do you make decisions in life? If we start talking about XRP, I know CryptoView might have a problem with that. If he hears we talk about XRP and we start saying fake stuff about it, how do you know who to listen to?
You've got to make up your own mind.
There's
a million different places that you can go for information. And the beauty of true freedom is being able to decide what you want and to believe in what you want to believe in. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody should be able to believe what they want to believe without problem. I'm not sure I understand how this almighty, all-knowing, omnipotent being must be your true source. There was a movie about that called 1984 by George Orwell.
There's another one called The Truman Show.
Yeah, and that's what the mainstream media, the MSM, has turned into. And if you haven't noticed, people are being cut, shows are being cut. Nobody's buying that stuff anymore. They're realizing it's all fluff. It's all made up stuff.
Okay, made up. So if there is a plane crash, a valid plane crash, if a plane actually crashes in your hometown where you are, and no one around your hometown believes it, and let's just say this plane is carrying radioactive material, are you really going to expect that each individual person that might see a news story saying plane crash with radioactive material, it's polluted this entire area, you need to evacuate? Do you think each individual person has to go, I'll choose whether to believe that or not? Or would it be better for them to have some way? Now, it's kind of funny because you said it right there, that they have access to the truth somewhere on the internet, but they have to find it. It's not like it could be broadcast to them in any way. So what happens when people start dying? I mean, we at least know that when there's a fire or police or a shooting, that there's a car with a big siren going off, and you go, I know that's a police car or a fire engine. That means danger, or I should pay attention. But this is like saying that everybody can have a siren on their vehicle now.
I think you're taking that way too far.
No. That's as far as it needs to go. Actually, it's not far enough.
No, because if there's an emergency and it's broadcast, you can choose to believe that or not believe that. Again, it's not a nanny state. It's not a nanny state. We don't need a central authority that is all
XRP isn't real, Crypto View. I don't believe in it. Mr. Zora, what do you think about post-truth news?
Difficult stuff.
There are certain things in society that, if we're all living together, we've got to cooperate on. And I think an interstate highway or plumbing or our water supply is a good example. It's not like each person can go and get their own water from the river. It would just be it would be madness to have such a thing. And even then, that's one river. It's not like they could make water. They can they have to go to the river and accept what's there. Or we have a single plumbing system or a plumbing company or two to where you get this water from a water company or whatever. We have to depend on some group thing eventually. And it sounds like you're saying, well, no, we don't have to.
No, and to get it back to the TikTok discussion, it's not up to the government or any authority to decide what app I can use on my phone. We're stuck, right? We have to be stuck. The carriers, the phones, the app stores, things like that are going to dictate to us what we can have and what we can't have. That's what we sign up for. And I still think that's wrong. But it's especially not right. It's not the government's job to tell me what apps I can have access to and what I can't have access to.
Well, a lot of the times when the government makes decisions for us, it's in the interests of national security. And I think it goes without saying that people can be brainwashed or bullshit via anyone out there. I mean, if Faz Radio was broadcast on every single TV across the world, I bet I'd get quite a following. Doesn't matter who I am. And then you get quite the following. And of course, you'd be president, as we found out, that people would vote for you. But you expose a large number of humans to anything, and they will just go for it. A lot of people don't want to make their own decisions, in my observation. It's easier to go about your life and just accept certain things. Now, I'm not, that's not a defense. I'm just saying this seems to be human nature.
And that's okay. And if for people who want to do that, they can. But don't put restrictions on other people just because they feel that they need to have daddy in control of everything they do. Let daddy control them. Leave everybody else alone.
Then what's the government for?
Oh, the government is for three things. Okay. Number one, they're there to make sure that nobody comes in here and kills us.
National defense. See?
On a very high level. I don't think it should be pushed down to the individual level, if that makes sense. That's a whole show in itself. Number two, they're there to make sure that the laws that are created at the federal level are enforced. Meaning, I don't believe in complete anarchy, right? Because using your river example, a corporation comes up, dams off a river, takes all the water away for their manufacturing, and nobody has anything to drink anywhere, for 400 miles below them. I think that certain laws are necessary, yes. And I do believe the enforcement of stuff like that should be there. And number three, to be able to promote the freedom that they say, not restrict the freedom, not define the freedom, but rather enforce the freedom and encourage the freedom. That's what I think a government's there for. Anything else, I think, is dangerous, and it presents a problem.
Go ahead, Mr.
I think I'm agree with Titan in some points there, and actually, yes, it have to be an institution that is gonna not control, verify, I would say more, and I go more the way that someone have to verify all these platforms, right? To make sure that your citizens are using it and they are protected. I understand that part. Control is a word that it takes more than verification, and we live in US, we live in this government, and under this government we live under the laws. So in a very big picture, yes, we're gonna depend on the government to decide what is good for us in certain things in life. You know, apparently the government see is seeking to ban TikTok because it's not good for the citizen of this country as far their information and our private information in the platform that is maybe is being leaking to the Chinese government, and all this can create some issues. In that way, I understand that, and they looking to protect our privacy and our private information. That's fine. Um, I think it have to be the government who verify that these platforms are are properly secure for the citizens and our information is well protected. I strongly believe in that. But as far controlling the population, the citizens, and all this, that I'm not agree to that. Because the same way that Chinese governments can send a platform here and we using it and we using the app, yes, they can have. Obviously, they're going to have control of the all the data that is uh, that is in that platform or any app that they produce for social media. That's fine. But somehow, at the end of the day, someone have to be checking this. And that's going to be the government, Mr. Titan. Uh, Otherwise, if we don't trust in the government that way, well, it have to be a private company who will be doing these check verifications as far as this information. And that's
That's going to be hard. That checking,
it is.
verifying,
Yes.
that's
Yes, that's
hard because it's going to depend on who.
yeah, that's gonna be pretty hard. But remember something, we're having this new technology now. We're having the blockchain technology, and somehow these have to be verified as well in a blockchain, and make sure these platforms, social medias are properly well secure. you know uh, I guess they have to find out who is going to do it, and who's going to provide all these uh, check verification data on that. But well, we see it's pretty hard, and I understand it's pretty hard. It's I think TikTok have a lot of data right now currently, and it would be pretty hard to actually check on at the current situation that TikTok is right now. I mean, we're talking with peoples here in the US as well, that they have millions of followers and data collected through the app as well. you know and remember something, these governments and all of them at the same time, they they do the same thing. They collect our data. They make money out of this. So
Well,
it's another.
that's the thing, and keeping it focused on TikTok here. National security is the reason that the current U.S. government has given for banning TikTok, and the Supreme Court has upheld that because that's something that the U.S. government can certainly do, and they agree with. But um, I think again, it's we're kind of in a post-truth situation. The worries are that the American public can be bamboozled by foreign influences on social media without check, and that is a valid thing.
It might be. However, again, you don't need Big Daddy checking data. You don't need Big Daddy telling you anything at a high level. Remember, let's go back to where my point was, where it's a high level thing. So if you want daddy to be monitoring it or whatever, what you do is you then create a law that says there has to be a disclosure that's presented, I don't know, quarterly or every 6 months as a warning whenever you log into TikTok, and it says we cannot verify where your data is going, what they're doing with your data, what data they're collecting. If you choose to continue on this platform, just understand that your data may be used by foreign nationals for whatever purpose they deem appropriate.
It's not about data
And if
being
you
used.
listen, what I'm trying to get to my point, and I'll hush. That's all you need. And if people go continue, it's on them. They've made the choice with that disclosure. That's all the regulation you need. You don't need someone looking at the data or banning the app.
Well, you've also said things about certain cryptos that, I don't know, rug their people, rug their investors. I say investors. And there have been calls in the crypto community for somebody to regulate cryptos so that those scam artists can't screw people over. A lot of people have been screwed over by cryptos that we have all put money into. And I have been the one that's saying, hey, there should be disclosures. And I have heard you say the opposite, saying there should be rules that they have to follow.
There should be rules. And where I've been pushing, and for years I've been pushing this, not for regulation, for accountability on that back end. Once it's been discovered that they did something crappy, they need to be held accountable for that crappy action. I'm not talking about regulation of that person, company, entity, crypto, whatever it may be.
So let's make this simple. So it sounds like you're saying it is perfectly fine with you if people steal from a store that you shop in, as long as a policeman could come along and arrest their ass and put them in jail. The problem,
I'm not saying they should be allowed to, no, but the accountability is what deters others from doing the same thing.
Well, there's a lot of, so that's deterring people through enforcement, which is what the SEC does with XRP. Why is this a problem? People have had a problem with the SEC regulating by enforcement only and not giving any rules of the land. The reason, correct. So you're fine with that.
There's already a law that says you're not allowed to steal. So going back to your example, there's already a law that says you're not allowed to steal. It's very, very clear.
And if you steal, you're going to deal with the consequence, right?
In crypto, again, you have your federal law, you have your high level. You say these are the things and make it crystal clear. You cannot do A, B, C, and D. They make it ambiguous on purpose so that they have the maximum flexibility when it comes to financial
and when
regulation.
they put people away, everybody gets to see them being carted off to jail. Yes.
Make it crystal clear and then hold the people accountable when they break those laws. It's really simple. That's as far as it has to go. You don't need departments. You don't need governments digging into everything. Just enforce the law.
Okay, so that's
the law clear.
So that's a very big enforcement arm that you're talking about. That's a lot of work to enforce, because when you enforce a law, that means you need to interpret the law. And this is where people get into trouble when we start talking about TikTok, because TikTok is about the whole reason they don't want TikTok broadcasting to us is because they're breaking our laws. They're
not. How are they breaking a law? What law are they breaking?
They are influencing us with, obviously.
It's not a law.
Okay. If you're fine with that, then basically anybody who's kind of weak-minded is going to go with that. And most humans, regardless of political leaning, most humans are weak-minded. They don't have the time to deal with that kind of stuff. That's why we have broadcast rules. That's why the FCC has standards saying you cannot broadcast lies. Okay, so there are laws. I want to make that clear. These are laws that are currently, I think they're being challenged by, I'll say, Trump and MAGA people, in that they think that we should decide what are lies. And if we decide what are lies, then that means we also get to decide what's enforced. That's one leads to the other.
high overarching laws. I'm for that. And the FCC on that side of it, absolutely. You shouldn't be broadcasting nudity to the general public. You should not be broadcasting things like live murders or executions. I think there's
People
a place
love
for those.
nudity and murders. Those are the most fun things.
You didn't listen. Public. I'm saying public. In private, the FCC, I don't think, I don't know enough about the FCC to know if private broadcast of that is illegal. I have no idea.
Porn have to be verified now in Florida.
For public.
Well, there's nudity on Twitter. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so
sorry,
again,
you're Titan. Sorry,
but I'm just saying. So there's a catch-22 here, in when you the way that it sounds like you're talking about is if I go to park in a parking spot and I see a cop there who's writing tickets for other cars, and I say, "Hey, Mr. Policeman, can I park here?" And the policeman says, "Park here and find out." That's what you're going to get when you say you can enforce these well-written laws, but nobody's going to stop you.
Yes, if the laws are clear and the consequences for breaking those laws are clear, that individual has a choice to make whether or not they're going to post what they're going to post, right?
Clear. Yes.
Right. They have to be clear.
I don't know if there are laws saying you can't have nudity being broadcast, but
I don't think you can do that live.
I think there's a lot of broadcasters. Well, there's innumerable porn channels, but I think there's a number of broadcasters. I think there's a lot of ways to interpret things. Like, oh, what do you mean by nudity? Oh, you don't want people being corrupted by nudity. So you could have naked art, but you can't. But you can't have porn. What's the difference between porn and art? That's hard. That's not clear.
Again, there's a line between public and private. Porn is private. It's not a public channel that people on TV, we're talking about public TV, public news, mainstream media. That's what we're talking about. Because TikTok is classified as a media company for the public. There's a difference between laws for public broadcast and laws for private broadcast. I don't know what differentiates that. I don't know where that line exactly is. So that's why there is porn that's easily accessible through a browser window, yes. For now, because Pornhub is about to be banned in like 6 states, which is a whole nother show. Every time you do one of these shows, there's like 10 new shows that branch out.
Well, that's the whole neat part about it.
But for the TikTok side, if they are, and I don't know the answer to this, I'm asking the question. If they are considered a public broadcasting media company, there probably is some restriction on what can be posted. Now, where that line is of, hey, if you say something negative about the U.S. government, you get penalized. That sounds a lot like North Korea to me instead of the United States.
Okay, how about this? The U.S. government is flying airplanes over a specific place, and their reason is a top secret thing that I've learned. But it's not really top secret because it's been alluded to over here. At some point, somebody's going to make the decision that what I just said was way wrong.
It depends, because everybody has their own interpretation of what they see. And they might not be doing it in a way that's meant to be malicious. If I see something out my window that looks like a UFO to me and I report that that's a UFO, I shouldn't be thrown in jail for that. But at the same time, if I create some AI thing that causes panic and everything else, there's probably a consequence for that action, and I agree with that. I don't think banning the entire platform and all of its users because some people decide that they're going to do stupid things on it is the right answer.
Then we need to educate people. What I'd love to see then is, let's just say Twitter. Let's use Twitter, for example. I say any message that is not vetted by some private And let me finish.
Jeez.
Let me finish. Any message that is not vetted as true by some private or public entity, and I'm talking about any, would have a mark of unverified. And then you'd know something is true with the more verified stamps you get. So if you get a verified stamp from, I don't know, the Republicans and from the Democrats, you could pretty much count on, okay, both these people are verifying it. I could probably count on this one. Plane crashes with a radioactive cargo. Everybody get the fuck out of the city. Everybody's vetting that one. Bam, bam, bam. This has been verified true. Sometimes you don't have time for all those verifications, but we won't go there. I'm just suggesting that everything that you see on Twitter or on TikTok or whatever has an unverified stamp until it's verified in some way. And then you can have anything. And then you teach people, when you see something unverified, you've got to verify it yourself, unless a lot of times we don't have a time for this personally. When I don't want to verify that a police, am I verifying that a police car or an ambulance is coming behind me? It's illegal for you to put a siren and lights on your car. I don't care what country you're in. It's illegal to do that. You could say, "Oh, I want to make the decision for myself and who the fuck they are, and I want to make the decision for myself whether I want to do that." Yeah, you'll get pulled over, and no one will feel sorry for you. If you get caught and you were actually acting out of line, yeah, you can get the harshest punishment in the world. But that information also has to propagate through this whole "I believe it, I don't believe it" structure you're talking about. So I'm trying to find a way that what you're saying can work. And the best thing I can find is any message that's out there gets a stamp of approval or verification from someone. You pick the someone.
I can't even go halfway with you on that, because everybody should have the freedom to choose what they want to believe without a central authority granting it as verified or true. The fact checkers of this world have already, in many cases, been proven to be paid shills. A lot of science is paid shills.
Just because you have bad actors, doesn't mean that they're all bad. You're right. There are paid shills out there who shill wrong science and shill wrong facts and stuff. But I'm thinking about anything that has to be timely. How do you square that circle?
You put the news out, and Darwinism takes over from there.
Your society is going to get a lot smaller, sir.
That's okay.
That's like requiring everybody to come into the office after years of remote work. It's really just a way to lay people off. We all know this.
Listen, you have government channels. You have an emergency broadcast system on every cell phone that's out there. If you're dumb enough to go against what they're saying, or you choose not to believe what they're saying, and you go to the scene of the crash of your radioactive plane that you keep bringing out, and you die from radiation poisoning, that is on you. That is not something that everybody should be punished for. Everybody has the freedom of choice to believe what it is they want to believe.
What if it's your child that wants to go there?
That's Darwinism.
So wait a minute. You are not going to tell you
if I've not done my job as a parent, and I tell the kid, if you see an emergency broadcast on your phone and you don't believe it, there could be deadly consequences, and they choose to do that anyway, there's nothing I can do about that. They're going to do what they want to do.
Well, I have a feeling that if this person means more to you than the random other person out there, that you're going to make more of an effort for your children. I would bet your child's life on it. You like how I put that? I'd bet your child's life on the fact that if their life were in danger, that you'd make a larger effort for them than you would for some rando on the street.
Everybody would. There's no doubt everybody would. The person who lives 3 streets over that I've never met has a unique attachment to their family and has no attachment to me. And that goes for every single person on this planet. So it's not a unique thing for that to be the case.
It seems rather a rather cruel way for society to advance, because there are a myriad. There are more dangers in this society than we can even keep track of. And I'm just thinking, let's just traffic rules in general. There's so many traffic rules you have to follow just to drive on the road. And if people started having to interpret those rules, that would be a problem. Now, yes, I am guilty of driving through stop signs that I don't agree with. And yes, Darwinism certainly applies there. But what happens when you're in charge of a city and so many people start driving through stop signs? After a while, you're going to put down a rule and say, so many people are dying. It's my job. Well, this is going to dovetail right into the fires. So let's do this. So many people are dying because we're not doing a good job. Well, we have to switch subjects eventually. So many people are dying right now because we're not doing our jobs. Like, I don't know, our fucking city is on fire, that we need to do something about it. And I kind of guarantee, I really think that the governor of California and the mayor of LA are going to be removed from their positions after all this is done, because they did not do a good enough job of protecting their people. Are you saying it's okay for people in LA for the governor to say, you're all going to die? It's Darwin. Darwin's in charge now. If you want to listen to us or not, it's up to you.
Yes, they've put out the evacuation notice on official channels and said your neighborhood.
I don't believe that's an official channel. See
your
what I
neighborhood
mean?
is on. No, you're cutting me off again. I was in the middle of a sentence.
Okay.
They put out the emergency broadcast and said your neighborhood is about to be engulfed in flames. Evacuate immediately. And if people don't want to believe that, they're going to die. But it's their choice whether or not they want to act on that. There's a lot of video out there of people standing on the roof of their house with a garden hose trying to keep their houses. That's the risk they've chosen to take. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I feel like there's a way different interpretation that you have compared to how things are normally done, such as fire departments. Mr. Shanrat here says, if you expect me to carry you out of a fire, you've got yourself in a bad place. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking I might not always be aware because I might be stupid, or unaware, didn't know what's going on. If I'm in a fire and I see a fireman, I'm going to thank God that I've seen that fireman, and I'm going to hope I'm going to think that they're probably going to save me and carry me out of it.
That's only correct if you have common sense, and a lot of people don't have common sense.
Oh, there's a lot that don't. Yeah.
Listen, and I don't know if I did this in the public Discord or if this was in one of our private channels, but I was through a California fire when I lived in California. I lived there for 4 years in San Diego, and I have pictures of the fire coming down the mountain that was about 5 miles away from me, and 2 sides. And we got the evacuation notice, and we slept in the back of my pickup truck. Me and my wife and my 2 dogs slept in the back of the pickup truck at the old Jack Murphy San Diego Stadium. And we did that for 2 days until it was safe to go back into the neighborhood. And even then we had to put wet T-shirts over our faces because it looked apocalyptic, like where you were, not just 3 years ago. And so I've been through it. You've been through it. And when they tell you to go and you look out your window and you see a fire coming down a mountain, you have a choice to make. Get out or you're probably going to get burned alive. And if you're dumb enough to stay there, that's on you. And I'm not saying they deserve to die. What I'm saying is that they have to make that choice for themselves.
Dumb enough. So dumb enough implies that you've had some sort of education as to who these people are. What if your Twitter, you're a follower of some Twitter channels? What if your Twitter channel tells you there's a fire? Who are you going to believe? Them?
I'm gonna look out my window.
Well,
I'm gonna look out my window.
Some things start coming down on you where looking out your window is not good enough. And a tsunami is a good idea, a good example. If you could see a tsunami, you're screwed. Okay, unless you're really, really high up in the air, you're screwed if you could see that tsunami coming.
So I'll give you another example. Out my window, if you go out my window about 3 miles northeast of where I'm at, is a nuclear power plant, a very big one. And if I got a bulletin that said that it's melting down at this moment, I can look out my window. I might not see anything. I'm going to take precautions as if it's real. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Using your verified source, it's an official statement that it's melting down. I'm out of here, and I'm going to ask questions later. There will be people. I guarantee you there'll be people that live around me that are going to sit in their house and whatever happens is going to happen. But that's their choice.
So I just saw speaking of that, I just saw it's on YouTube, a mini-series about Chernobyl, came out in 2019. It's really good. It's mostly true because they have to combine a number of people into single characters and stuff. So they have to paraphrase a little bit. But it talks about all the dangers that they had, admitting that there was a problem, Russia admitting there was a problem, and people propagating the information. And they had a big problem with denial in Chernobyl in 1986. But they did evacuate a town that was nearby, which people are still not allowed back in some 45 years later. They forcibly evacuated them. If you want to reduce confidence in your government past the point that it is right now, let a whole bunch of people die. And if they would have asked each individual person, hey, do you want to get on this bus to leave because of the nuclear power plant? And they even talked about the stupidity of people not believing it and so on. And they had some good examples in there. If half the people in that town were to have died, whoever's in government would be removed. In fact, Chernobyl is considered one of the reasons that the Soviet Union fell, is because, and so many people died because of it. I mean, this poisoned thousands of acres around, I mean, just thousands of acres around there. Thousands of square miles around Chernobyl, killed so many people. You will remove the confidence in government so much. It's not about being a daddy state. It's about, do I feel safe in this country? And if you constantly don't feel safe in this country, the country will become destabilized and it will cease to function. Yes, it may get another government, which will again cease to function. This is how you build trust. And I don't think that trust should be confused with nanny state. A nanny state, to me, is an extreme example. You're muted.
I'll take this back to the LA fires after I answer what you just said. We watched that literally happen 2 years ago with El Salvador. The country was such a mess, and then suddenly no confidence was there. They brought somebody in, cleaned it up. It's a completely different world now. So yes, that absolutely happens, and it should happen. That's the way things get changed. As far as the LA fires and your comments about the governor and the mayor, absolutely. Criminal negligence is what that is. The way that the lack of preparation when it's not brand new, that place is a tinderbox constantly. That their lack of preparation, their lack of having the resources available and practicing when things like that go wrong, absolutely criminal negligence, and they should be thrown in jail for what they've done. That is completely wrong. When people were paying their taxes, doing the thing, and those taxes are ridiculous, paying their taxes, paying their insurance, having the insurance companies withdraw because the insurance companies withdrew because they knew that the preparation wasn't there. The risk was too high for that to happen. So that is negligence.
So
100%.
I'm having a hard time squaring that you have a problem with a nanny state, and you have a problem with paying taxes, and you have a problem with the amount of preparation. It sounds like you're wanting it both ways.
Not at all.
I'm having a hard time seeing how you can't have this nanny state if you're paying taxes. The whole point of taxes is to be able to people to pay into something that's managed centrally.
So absolutely, the property taxes and the taxes they pay on everything should have been funding those measures. People chose to live there. They chose to pay those taxes with the expectation that these X, Y, and Z services, fire protection and extra fire protection in their case, were being addressed. So there was an expectation, and it's reasonable to expect that the state would have covered that. That's where my line is. If you want to go to BFE, Wyoming, where there's no very, very low taxes and the expectation of services is very low, there's a big difference. The larger the area of urbanization that you live in, the higher the taxes, the more that you're expecting in return.
Held accountable. I think held accountable.
I'll have one more statement on this to kind of wrap up my point, in that you have a choice where you live, and there's risks where you live. New York City has a lot of crime. If you choose to live in New York City, there's consequences of high crime. California, high chance that your property is going to burn to the ground. Florida, a high chance that a hurricane is going to devastate your community.
You're not safe anywhere in the United States.
Well, but my point is that you have those choices, and the expectation for what you pay. People who live in Florida pay a ton for their home insurance because the odds are really high and the risk is really great that they're going to get decimated by a hurricane at some point. So there's your linchpin. That's what ties all of this together. If they were paying $100 a year for insurance, they would expect crappy service when something went wrong.
Well, for insurance, I would like to propose that most people in the United States can't choose where they live. Most people in the United States don't have enough money to move out of their city to another city. They don't have the connections to start a new life in another city. And the way you're making it sound is if you could say at any time that anyone, including somebody who's barely making it, can say, fuck LA, I can just leave and I can go live in Oregon.
No, it's not that easy. It takes a lot of logistics for a family to do that, and it takes some time. You just cannot move from one state to another. That's not. It is involved. It is involving a lot of stuff, especially if you're a family that you have children's. You have to thinking a lot of stuff as your children's school system, the school they are. Is a big life changing when you do that. You put moving a family from one state to another. So it's something that probably some people and a lot of people maybe as well, they can have that opportunity. If they have a very good economy, but a lot of people in this country don't have a lot of good economy, they will have to eat what it is in that state. So it's not that simple to do that.
All right, so let's move on to the last bit here because we're running a bit over. But I wanted to get to Greenland. We've been talking about how the federal government may or may not be responsible for certain things. Mr. Titan, how responsible should the federal government try to expand our land to include Canada and Greenland as states in the United States of America?
They should. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not. They have a choice.
They have a choice.
There's Greenland and Denmark. I think Denmark is the one that currently owns Greenland, but that's again a whole nother cast about ownership of countries and things like that. But the offer can be made, sure. That's freedom. Hey, we're making you an offer to come to the United States and be a state. Here's what we have to offer you. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then they have the choice in Greenland to go to Denmark and say, here's what I'm getting from Denmark. Here's what the U.S. is offering me. I think they should have a choice, yes.
You know, Canada, by the way, and Greenland and Denmark have responded. Canada says that they would be overjoyed to have an 11th province named the United States, and they could offer us free health care and offer us. They went on a list of things that they could offer us. Greenland, I think, said something like, "Hell no." I think it was just today that their 5-party parliament said something to the effect of "fuck no, are you crazy?"
I saw something different, and it was somebody saying that they were open to listen, at least.
Yeah, that was some misinformation. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter about all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the prime minister or person in charge of Greenland, I think hit a weird name, something like Mute. Prime Minister of Greenland had said something like, yeah, we're open to offers, but I couldn't find anything to back that up. I had to go do a lot of searching. I found nothing. And this is part of that whole verification thing we were talking about earlier.
That's a beautiful thing. So that should tell you a lot about the United States right there. That a country, if what you're saying is true, that they said hell no, that should tell you a lot about the condition and the respect that anybody has for the United States around the world, which should tell us, hey, maybe we need to rethink some things, because there's a country of people who I guess are saying that they're not in an ideal situation with Denmark, won't even consider the United States. In the 1920s, when Ellis Island was open, everybody wanted to come here because of the opportunity for the freedom, for the everything. Now, if people are at a point where they're like, heck no, I'm not going there, that signals a very big problem with how the United States is conducting its business worldwide.
I think these countries, Greenland and Canada, both realize that they can call the shots when they are in charge, and we can call the shots when we're in charge. And if we were to absorb them in any way, happy or unhappy ways, that us calling the shots on what they're doing is not preferred. And I mean, that's like me asking, I see Nathan Harper right here. Hey, what's up, Mr. Nathan Harper? That's like me asking Nate if he wants to work for me. Well, I get a feeling that Nate probably does pretty good on his own and would prefer to call the shots in his life. And I think you'd want to call the shots in your life. You've been making a good point in this whole cast about how people should decide for themselves. So I have a feeling that countries don't want to centralize into one country.
That could be too, and that's fine. But
we're obviously not. Point proven.
We're obviously not a place that offers enough for somebody to be excited about becoming another state, and that is a huge problem. That tells you where we're at as a country.
This is some good advice. Nate says he doesn't want to work for me, but he will work with me. And I think that's some great advice. And I think countries should find a way to do that more often instead of putting up tariffs against each other and finding ways to be in charge. Having tariffs, to go a little bit off script here, is I believe Trump's way of kind of evening things up because he's felt that the United States has done too much for other countries. The United States, we've gone on and we've done all these things for other countries. We've gotten things for it, by the way. We've gotten their allegiance when we go and give them money. We've gotten their allegiance. That's why we put military bases there. We've gotten allegiance for providing them with security and stuff. And now Trump says, you know what? We've been providing you with so much security and so many good deals that you need to start paying now.
Sounds like the mafia to me. No? Paying for protection, are they?
Funny, because what I heard about Greenland. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Zorro.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Yeah.
I heard something about Greenland where they'd be they are open, however, for another military base, which is really them saying, okay, we don't want you to own us, but if you want to pay us, you can.
Yeah.
And China, see, Trump is unhappy because ostensibly China, it has a lot more influence in Greenland. And I think he wants Greenland so he can stop that from happening. And the Greenlanders are saying, you know, if you put another military base here and employ our people, yeah, we're all about taking your money. We'll take it.
Mm-hmm. What China wants from with Greenland, the resources that they have there?
I think there is a lot of untapped resources
Rare
there.
earths, rare earths stuff.
And
right.
I also think that they realize that the economy, the way that it is, needs a boost other than what we have available right here, right now. Meaning, if they can take the economy of Canada and the goodwill of Canada and Greenland's resources, that would help boost the economy here to very, very high levels. The other side of it, meaning like the Asian side, that's where a lot of the rare earth metals are coming from now, and there's a stranglehold on obtaining those. And the supply chain to get a hold of those things is very, very difficult, very expensive, and very time consuming. And if they're able to get those from another source, it kind of balances everything out and puts us in a much better position to manufacture, which is, I think, what he wants to do with that. I don't know though, right? I'm not an economist, but that's what I would imagine he's doing that for.
Well, we were talking in the comments here. I had mentioned that from what I understand, well, what I know is global warming is a thing. And what it's doing right now is it's causing the Arctic to melt. And with the Arctic melting, shipping lanes have been opening up. And there's something called the Northwest Passage, which is north of Canada, where you can go from, I'll say, Russia, from the Bering Sea, straight over to around where Iceland is and hit any point of Russia, I believe. And there's no ice in the way. You could ship anywhere a lot quicker and easier because that's the top of the earth. So that's where it becomes strategic. I think Trump wants those shipping lanes.
Could be.
Our
and
only
access wrong with that.
Our only access to them right now is north of Alaska, which means we have to go around Canada, around Alaska to get to these shipping lanes. I'm surprised, frankly, that we haven't built some sort of big shipping center on the northern coast of Alaska. We do have like some drilling operations there, but it's really minimum. There's no people up there. There's no roads going to the northern part of Alaska. The roads will go up to southern part, which is Anchorage, but you can't get to northern Alaska from the United States.
It depends. There's a lot up there, actually. I watched those shows on the TLC channel or Nat Geo or whatever it was, all those Alaska shows, and there's more up there than you would think there is, actually.
Yeah, it's with all the ice going away, there's a lot of prime land up there. And with all the ice going away also, you start having a lot more prime farming land opening up in Canada. Most of the Canadian population is down along the southern border of Canada, the northern border of the United States. That whole area is where all their people are. The more north you go, the less people you get.
Yeah. And I do think that it's possible, at some point for resources to be found up there as well, more than they've tapped into now. They're very anti drilling and very anti disturb the environment and all this other stuff. I think I am not a climate or an environmentalist type, but I do think a lot should be conserved, but at the same time, if there's a demand for something that's in an area, I think we do need to tap into that if it's going to provide what we need as humans to make life easier.
Oh, drilling's going away. It's solar power is where it's going to be. Wind power, solar power is. There's all this free energy being beamed to us by the sun, and we're just like, it's easier to pull it out of the ground because we can set it on fire. But if we make things that can collect things free from the sun, it's. I don't see why people aren't doing that. It blows me away.
No, and we've touched on this on an episode maybe a year and a half ago. If I had to choose, if I was the person in charge of choosing that, geothermal would be the way to do it. And geothermal could absolutely power, with 2 geothermal plants of moderate size, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, it could power the entire United States and have energy left over. So I don't think the sun's the answer and wind's the answer. It takes too much of a footprint to make it worthwhile. Whereas if you just put it into the geothermal, that is something that could be very cost effective. But again, they don't want it to be cost effective. They need to make it scarce so that you pay for it. It's profit driven. And that's another problem that we have with all of these manufacturing and resource issues, is that there has to be a level of scarcity that they push in order to make money. They burn diamonds.
Well, I think the scarcity can easily be the scarcity of the ability to collect solar power is quite good at the moment. We are unable to make use of 100% of the solar power being beamed at us. So that's your scarcity right there.
And I don't know enough about that. So I don't know why it's so cost prohibitive to be able to build these solar panels so that they can not harness that better. I really, and I'd love to know if anybody knows, please
About what?
put it in the chat.
About what? Solar panels?
Yeah, these solar panels can only get like 3% of what it collects.
I don't think it's, based on my own experience, I don't think it's solar panel for houses. I think you have to go through some private companies that they go ahead and
it's not a public thing. Private companies are the way.
Private companies, they do the installation for you, and apparently your state have some programs with the states that they're gonna probably lend the money to you, and you're not gonna pay for these at the very beginning, and then after that, once you install all the solar panels and you had it in your home, either way you're still depending on your regular state electric company. So
right, and
in reality it's like you cannot be totally independent with solar panels. I don't believe that apparently here in Florida the state laws don't allow you to be totally independent solar panel. Somehow
that's
you have
a whole
to be
nother show too.
That's a whole thing. And people
That's 5 shows.
and I'm telling you this because my background Electrical is stands is big. So actually, my career is based on that. So, but yes, this is something that even if you put solar panels in your home, you still depend, and you still have to pay something a balance that you basically what you do with solar panels at your home, you're collecting you collecting all this energy, then you send them back to them, and then that's how they balance your your bill with that, and they charge you some flat rate, I
If you
would
were to
say
do it
that.
yourself, you'd
Yeah,
have to have a bunch of batteries, and you'd have to deal with the
if you
demand changes.
yes,
It's
if
more
you
efficient to just inject it
Anyway,
back into the grid.
but at the end of the day, they still tell you, and I'm telling you because that this happened actually. They will tell you, the companies who do the installation for you, they will tell you, well, you still have to be somehow connected to the meter. Uh, Here you go. You know,
I think I explained that wrong. My question, what I don't understand, because I understand all that. What I don't understand is you have. I'm just going to use stupid numbers. Okay, so I'm not talking like an expert here, but let's assume you have a 12 inch by 12 inch or a 1 meter by 1 meter solar panel, and you can collect 50 watts of power from that, which is like 3% of the energy that's being thrown at you by the sun. Why can't that collect 600 watts in that same 1 meter by 1 meter space? That's the technology that if you're going to do solar, you have to improve on. Why? What's the holdup with collecting more of that power with the same units?
Um, I can give something with that. Um, so power is notoriously fickle. You can get a lot of power and a little power and a lot of power and a little power. You've got to be able to provide a steady amount of power to your own house if you're going to use it. Otherwise, you'll brown out your own house when it gets cloudy and so on. But when the sun gets really bright, you're going to collect a lot. And so you've got to have equipment to balance that out, and it helps to charge a bunch of batteries and then live off the batteries. It's just more efficient to inject back into the grid. You're muted, sir. Oh, never mind. You're not.
No.
Sorry, you were just.
You're still missing my point.
I probably
not a point, but my question. Why can't, if the sun is kicking out 1,000 watts of power at your house, but the panel can only collect 50 watts of it because of the technology of only being able to grab 3% of that power, why can't we take that panel and collect 80% instead of 3%? What is the technological holdup for how much that panel can collect?
Oh, that's a science show right there.
It's not. I don't think it's a panel. It's how are you going to storage all this energy? You need to have a large batteries and a large equipment and storage all this energy. Where are you going to have it? When you put data in real, when you put this in infrastructure, you're gonna fill your house with batteries all over the place. So in order to storage all this energy,
Okay.
You're not living
they do it
directly
on
off the
purpose?
panel. You're living off of the stabilized energy, the batteries.
So they limit
Yes,
it on
so-
purpose so that you don't like overwhelm something. Is that what you're trying to
You don't
say?
blow up things
No,
in your house. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
yeah,
That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. Remember, obviously, like Fast say, if you have to storage all this energy, you have power there. You can blow things at your house.
That would
Basically.
be me. More power.
Some people will do that.
Well, they would just burn down their house or something, right?
Unless you're Metaflora, then you want more power.
Oh,
So
well,
all
that's
the-
something else.
Those lights are very energy intensive.
all the devices in our house are used to getting a certain amount of regulated power. They can't handle it when you give them 1,000 volts, then 5 volts, then 20 volts, then 100 volts.
Yeah.
So you got to stabilize that out, and it's better to just grab it from a battery. You want to take everything you can in, put it into batteries, and then just go off of the stable battery.
Okay. Yeah, I get that part.
But if you inject it directly,
inject
it directly into the grid, you don't need batteries because somebody else will take it, and the power company pays for all that other stuff.
Yeah, you're basically selling. You're basically sending back all this energy that you collect through the solar system to their plan, and then that's how you save money when you have solar system at your home, and they
And do they
balance
pay
your
you
and
the same amount that they
don't
charge
pay
you?
they don't pay you. They don't give you any money. What they do is they send you a flat rate. They give you a flat rate utility bill, basically. You know,
Do you
It's-
get to negotiate that rate, or is it just whatever they feel like giving you?
yeah.
You can find those rates. They're published somewhere. Basically, you can cancel out your bill, but I'm not sure if they would actually pay you. I don't know. It depends on the location.
No, they won't pay you at all. Nothing. Zero.
Of course not.
No, they're not.
What do you mean? Of course not. You just got told how they're doing you a big favor, and you're like, well, of course that they're not going to pay me. Well, then buy some fucking batteries and live off them yourself, and you won't have a problem there.
So
it depends. If you live in farms and things like this, if you own the land and you live far away from the cities, you can actually go full solar system, and then yeah, you can store as long as you have the facility to storage all the energy. That's fine. It's up to you. You're gonna spend a lot of money.
If you want to be devious, okay, give them as much electricity as will cancel out your bill, and then after that, redirect the power to your batteries. There you go. Now you have it both ways. You have a bill that's paid off, and you have a reliable bill in case you need it, reliable electricity in case your solar panels go out, and you have storage on the side as well. Win-win.
Yeah.
But that's complicated. Complicated means expensive.
Expensive.
Well,
very expensive stuff.
And you don't want to get caught collecting your own rainwater either, because you'll go to jail for that.
Really?
Unless someone or a company create a device that is nuclear and they power up the entire house, which is apparently already happening. And I think it was posted on Twitter, a company they call Enron that create this crazy thing, and everybody was like, what? Nuclear? In your home? A device?
There's another thing that I think it was a green node or something that would redirect power.
Supposed to be, allegedly. You know how those green nodes were hilarious because they're like, they never really explained what they're doing. They're like, turn your power into money. And I think they didn't even absorb any of the power. They just like tracked it. And then apparently their solution for tracking power didn't work. So they're like, well, we're just going to watch the CPU on your machine and then like somehow extract your power from that. I don't know. It never added up.
Well, I think that we've got like 74 ideas here from these conversations that could be, shows on this channel for the next 5 years. And these are important issues to talk about, and people do want to talk about them. And I think that having a variety of opinions is probably a good thing overall.
Thank you. Yeah, I think people want to. I think, well, let's pull out just a bit. We've had our Faz radio show, which has focused on AI and tech, but I've certainly seen a need to talk about other things like Greenland and fires and TikTok. I think our audience wants to hear that. I'm seeing more viewers on this channel, even though we've had 3 shows now, than we've had on the regular Faz radio channel, which is amazing. So that's noteworthy. I think we should keep going with this.
So we can say bye to TikTok.
Okay, so well, I'm not sure what to do about TikTok because Faz Radio is currently being broadcast it on TikTok as well. As soon as that goes away, we're not going to be able to broadcast on there anymore.
You have
TikTok is
you have
very
X
strong. It's a great place to get content out. There's no doubt TikTok is, not only for Faz Radio, but for my wife's show and countless other people that I know that make content on there. They get a lot of engagement. We get a lot of engagement on TikTok. So that would be a detriment to the Faz Radio brand if that went away and we weren't able to publish and get our voices out there. Absolutely. So I think maybe they've considered that with their band, maybe they haven't, maybe they don't care. But they should be considering something like that before they take any of these actions, because ultimately we have no say. We can call Washington and give your opinion, but they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do anyway.
I agree.
All right. On that note, I think we've gone quite a bit long, and really appreciate everybody coming here today. This has gotten a lot of people from Twitter. I'd like to make a plug for our Faz Politics YouTube channel. We'd like to get more people on it. I see we have a ton of people on Twitter here, but not as much on the YouTube channel. And that's partially my own fault. I wanted to create a separate politics channel than the Faz Radio channel so we can keep things targeted toward their specific algorithm. But yes, please do join our Faz Politics YouTube channel. I will put it on. I guess we should have a link ready. Let me get that really quick. I want to put that in our chat. Say something, guys. Keep things going.
Well, and pin it on YouTube to the top. You can pin it to the top.
And Nathan should become to politics.
I would like it if everybody here could please subscribe to the Faz Politics YouTube channel, which I just put in chat here. Actually, since most people are on Twitter, I need to go over to Twitter, actually. Put that on Twitter. Let me do that. Hold on. Don't go anywhere just yet. Don't everybody talk at once.
Well, we're waiting for you to close this out. You said you were going to close this out, so I didn't want to start another topic.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, here, I'm posting this. Join, subscribe to our YouTube politics channel. There we go. Posted. It's up there. Since you're watching this on Twitter, please subscribe. And on that note, where's my button? I wasn't ready for this. That, and then where's the music?